They thought he was just another old man with nothing left but time and cheap beer, the way one of the bartenders muttered Parkinson's, probably, as he wiped the counter, not realizing the man could still hear perfectly. When Bennett lifted his trembling hand to sip his drink, no one saw the discipline in the motion, only the shake. No one saw the scars beneath the cuff of his flannel sleeve or the strength behind the stillness in his eyes. Just another Thursday at the Driftwood Tap, they figured. The local crowd barely looked twice until the day he didn't show up. Table 3 sat empty, untouched, like it was waiting. That's when Mel, the bartender who had always served him with the softest voice, let herself into the room above the bar where Cal lived quietly for 12 years. She found him slumped peacefully in his armchair, one hand resting on his chest, the other still loosely holding a dog-eared copy of With the Old Breed, as if he'd only paused for breath. The small wooden shadow box above his bed, sealed tight since 1972, sat coated in dust. She hesitated, then opened it. Inside, a silver star, 2 bronze stars, and a letter dated in thick black ink and signed by a general whose name still carried weight in Pentagon halls. The medals looked like they hadn't seen daylight in decades, and neither had the truth. Mel didn't say a word to anyone that day, but the next night, Table 3 had a candle on it. A framed photo. And a silence no one dared interrupt. If you believe respect should never wait until it's too late, if you believe those who serve quietly deserve more than laughter and mockery, then like and subscribe. Because what happened in that bar the week before Cal died, that's the real story. It began like most things at the Driftwood Tap, loud music, the clink of bottles, the scrape of boots across stained wood floors. Thursday night was karaoke and beer pitchers, and Cal was already sitting at table 3 by the time the crowd swelled. He always got the same drink, 1 draft lager, sipped slowly with the care of a man who knew the weight of time. His flannel was clean, buttoned all the way up. His worn army cap lay on the table beside him, faded olive, the patch so old it was nearly colorless. His hand shook, just a bit, as he lifted the glass. That's when the first joke landed. Some guy at the bar, Jake, or maybe it was the bigger one with the backwards hat, snorted and said, "Jesus, someone get Grandpa's sippy cup." Laughter followed. Not loud, but sharp enough to cut. Cal didn't look up. He never did. He'd seen worse. Mel shot the guys a glance, but said nothing yet. Cal had once told her not to waste her voice on fools. "You see that?" one of them added. "But that hand's seen more coffee than combat." What laughter. A few heads turned, some watching, others pretending not to. Cal kept sipping. A quiet man in a noisy room. But not everyone laughed. A figure walked in just after the second round, tall, broad-shouldered, with a limp that made every step sound like gravel under steel. He wore denim and desert boots, and a cap nearly identical to Cal's, only newer. He saw table 3 immediately and stopped mid-stride. The noise dulled. Mel saw it too. She froze, glass in hand. The man walked straight to the table, past the laughter, past the jukebox glow, past the guys now suddenly quiet. Cal looked up. Recognition passed between them like smoke from a battlefield flare. The man said nothing, just opened a thin, battered case from under his arm and laid 3 medals on the table. Silver star. Bronze star with V device. Purple heart. Then, finally, he spoke. "You laugh at those hands?" he said, his voice carrying like a drill sergeant in a hangar. "Those hands tied tourniquets with no light. Pulled 6 of us out of a burning Humvee. You're breathing because men like him didn't stop when their bodies told them to." The bar went still. No one moved. No one sipped. Even the jukebox hiccuped into silence. The man, Riley Ward, Cal's old squad mate, turned toward the crowd, his voice iron flat. "You see weakness. I see the man who got me home." One of the jokers tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. Mel slowly walked from behind the bar, picked up the medals, and set them on the wall behind the bottles. "They stay here now," she said. "Where you see them before you open your mouth." Cal didn't say much. He never did. Just gave a quiet nod. The kind that meant something deeper than words. The rest of the night moved quieter, like the bar itself had remembered its manners. And ever since then, table 3 hasn't been touched. not without respect. Because sometimes the strongest men don't fight back. They don't raise their voice. They just sit, with a quiet that you don't recognize, until it stands up beside you wearing boots and medals in memory. You could feel it in the air, not just quiet, but something heavier, like the kind of silence that falls at a graveside when the final salute is done and all that's left is memory. After Riley Ward slammed those medals down on the old oak table, nobody dared move. The three guys who'd been laughing shrank back into themselves, suddenly fascinated with the condensation on their beer glasses. Jake, the ringleader, always the loudest voice in the room when volume passed for confidence, opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but his voice caught somewhere between guilt and confusion, like a man waking up to find the world wasn't what he thought it was. Cal didn't gloat, didn't nod, didn't even smile. He just sat still, his glass half full in front of him, the faintest tremor in his fingers resting on the wood beside the letter Mel had now carefully tucked into a clear stand above the bar. Riley remained standing, arms crossed, like a stone monument built from duty and grief. His boots didn't shift. His voice didn't raise. He didn't have to. I still remember the sound, he said quietly, addressing no one and everyone all at once. Of those tires exploding under us. Of the flames licking up the sides of the truck. I blacked out for maybe 15 seconds. Thought I was already dead. He looked down at Cal. When I woke up, he was dragging me out, one arm burned, shoulder torn from shrapnel. Still don't know how he lifted me. The words hung there, raw and without embellishment. Mel was now wiping the same section of counter over and over again, eyes glassy but focused, like she was trying to hold herself together with muscle memory. One of the other patrons, an older man named Bill who usually kept to himself at the end of the bar, cleared his throat. Was that Iraq? He asked hesitantly. Riley looked over. Afghanistan. Paktika Province. 2007. Bill gave a slow nod, something settling behind his eyes. My nephew was there. No one replied, but somehow it was enough. Cal reached slowly for his glass, hands still trembling, and this time, nobody flinched. Nobody chuckled. They just watched quietly as the man who had once shielded men from bullets lifted a beer with the strength of survival. We served an echo company, Riley said. 17 of us. 9 made it home. 3 are still with us. He looked at the 3 men who had mocked Cal just 15 minutes ago. You'd be lucky to be half the man he is. And you mocked him. Because his hands shake. The tallest one, Cole, a gym bro type who normally flexed more than he listened, shifted uncomfortably and muttered, "We didn't know." Riley's eyes narrowed. Exactly. The word hit like a rifle report. Simple. Final. Mel stepped forward, her voice quieter than usual. He's lived upstairs since 2011. Pays cash. Never complains. Always leaves a little extra on the bar, even when I tell him not to. She paused, then added, and not once did he tell me any of this. Cal finally spoke, his voice low, even, calm like a river that runs deep. It wasn't about hiding. It's just, he trailed off, looking down at the medals. I was tired of talking to people who already made up their mind. Jake, whose face had gone pale beneath the bar lights, took a shaky step forward. Sir, Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry. We shouldn't have, but Cal raised one hand gently. Don't apologize to me. He looked around the room. Apologize to every quiet man you ever judged by what you think you saw. The jukebox screen went black, like even the machine knew better than to interrupt. Riley finally sat, sliding into the booth across from Cal. You never called me, he said. Cal's smile was small, almost invisible. Didn't think it mattered. Riley's jaw clenched. It did. They didn't say much more after that. Didn't have to. Some friendships are forged in such fire that words become unnecessary. Mel pulled the draft handle slowly, filling a fresh pint and setting it on the bar without saying a word. She nodded toward the medals. They stay up. Bet okay. Cal didn't answer. He just looked at them for a long moment, then said, long as people see them. Really see them. She gave a soft smile. They will now. As the evening wore on, the usual noise returned, but it was different. Softer. Warmer. Conversations bent themselves around table 3 with more respect, more pauses. A younger couple near the jukebox whispered about their grandfather, a Vietnam vet who never talked about the war. A man at the corner scribbled something in a notebook, as darting between Cal and the metal case. By closing time, 3 different people had left drinks on the bar, each one sliding a folded napkin under the glass with a word or 2 scribbled on it. "Thank you for your service. I'm sorry." Mel placed them gently in a drawer behind the bar. "For later. For legacy." Riley eventually stood, clapped Cal on the shoulder, and left the bar without a word. The weight of his footsteps lingered even after the door closed. Till stayed for another few minutes, finishing his drink. When he rose, slowly, steadily, Mel helped him with his coat. He paused at the door, looked back once at the medals, then nodded toward the candle now flickering at the edge of table 3. "Don't let it burn out," he said. And with that, he walked into the night, his step slow, his shadow long across the pavement, but his back unbent. Strong. Seen. And never laughed at again. It's strange how fast a room forgets the sound of laughter when it was built on the wrong kind of noise. But even stranger how silence, once earned, can teach people how to listen again. After that night, table 3 was never the same. Not because anyone said it shouldn't be touched, but because nobody wanted to. Mel never made a rule about it. Didn't need to. Every night, someone would set a glass of water or a small American flag on it. No one planned it. It just happened. Like respect had slipped quietly into the bones of the place and made a home there. The metal case stayed where she hung it behind the bar, anchored by Riley's hand and Cal's legacy, just above the spot where the bottles used to hide the wall. Now, they sat slightly lower, a shelf rearranged not by policy but by reverence. And every Thursday night, even though the jukebox still played and the pitchers still poured, people talked a little softer, drank a little slower, and paid a little more attention to who sat where and why. Jake and Cole came back a week later, heads down, drinks untouched for 20 minutes before either spoke. When Mel finally walked over, Jake offered a small donation envelope with shaking hands. "For the VA," he said, in his name. She took it without a word, but her nod said more than thanks. And on the wall, under the medals, she pinned a small, handwritten tag, "Cal Bennett Fund, for veterans who shouldn't be forgotten." People started adding to it without asking. A 5 here, a 20 there. Sometimes just a folded napkin with a name written on it, or a message like, "This is for my dad." Cal never came back after that night. He died 3 days later. Peacefully, Mel told everyone. Like he finally believed he didn't have to stay standing just to be seen. They found him still in his chair upstairs, the same flannel shirt folded neatly over the armrest, the same army cap laid flat on the table, as if waiting for one last walk home. The shadow box was still open. The medals were gone, but in their place, Cal had left a note. Just one sentence, scribbled in the fading ink of a man who hadn't written in years, but still remembered how to say something that mattered. "If they're ready to listen now, you can tell them." So Mel did. At the small memorial they held inside the bar a week later, she stood at the counter in her black apron and read the letter Cal had once tucked beside the medals. It wasn't long. It wasn't grand. Just a few lines about Echo Company, about the 6 names he never forgot, about the weight of coming home when others didn't. Raleigh sent flowers. Couldn't make it. He was leading a PTSD workshop in Colorado, but his card was pinned beside the folded flag now mounted on the back wall. "To the man who never asked for thanks. You earned it anyway." And when the bass and Paktika got word of the story, someone had posted a photo of the medal wall and Riley's speech online. An official letter came from the Department of Defense, recognizing Cal Bennett with a formal commendation for bravery and service. Mel read that aloud too, hands steady, voice full. The Driftwood Tap didn't call it a tribute night. They just called it Thursday. But the place filled like a parade was marching through. Veterans showed up from 3 towns over. Some in jackets that still bore the weight of old units. Some in plain clothes, no patches, no pins, but all with something in their eyes that said they knew. And when they passed table 3, every single one of them paused. Some saluted. Some laid a hand on the worn wood. One old man even left a coin beneath the coaster, a tradition no one asked about, but everyone respected. And then came the tradition. Mel started it, but it didn't stay hers. Every Thursday, before the first beer is poured, the bartender of the night reads one quote. Just one. Could be a line from a letter, something said by Cal, something Riley once texted. Sometimes it's just 6 words. You don't mock the quiet ones. And after that, they raise their glasses, not in loud toasts, not in cheers, but in stillness. A toast to the empty chair, to the hands that once trembled with history, to the voice that never needed to shout. The young ones who laughed? They listen now. They ask questions. One even joined the local VFW. Said he never understood his grandpa until Cal. And every time someone new walks into the driftwood tap and looks confused at the camel-lit table with no one sitting there, someone tells the story. Not the short version. The real one. The one where a man who looked like nothing reminded a whole town what everything looked like. And they never laugh at shaky hands anymore. Because now they know some hands shake from age. Others shake from all the weight they've carried to keep the rest of us safe.